All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Let's have some fun. So we have J.D. Vance. Some secret audio was released, and yet again, he shoved his foot directly in his mouth. He's attacking the people that Trump and Vance are going to need to win the election. A lot to say about that. We'll talk about the article that just came out in Axios talking about how Kamala has flip-flopped, and she's now in favor of Trump's border wall. I'll break that down for you. We have a real bombshell story about Iran. I mean, they shock the world with the message that they just released. I'm going to break that down for you, too, and tell you why it's such a big deal. Then later on, Kamala releases a new ad hitting Trump on Project 2025. Pro-lifers have now gone to war with each other. And this is something that, look, it reminds me of all the infighting that happens on the left. The right is now splintering, and they're creating different factions, and they're going at each other's throats. There's a lot to say about that. Then we have MAGA versus an anti-Trump Republican. They get in a heated debate on CNN, and Nick Fuentes is continuing his absolute jihad against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. I got a new clip for you. You're not going to want to miss that one. So we'll jump into it in a second. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel, bro. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing with your life. We're trying to get to 10 million subsies. We got a while to go, but you got to build it one at a time. So hook us up if you haven't subscribed yet. And a big thank you to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. You guys make it work. You guys are awesome. We couldn't do it without you. Remember, I'm the anti-Ben Shapiro. You know how Ben Shapiro shoves like a minute-long ad into a 7-minute video? I don't do any ad reads. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser, so we got to fund it through Patreon and through tips on YouTube and whatnot. So thank you very much to everybody who does support, and please consider if you're not. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Look, here's the problem with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance built his public profile. Of course, he started as an anti-Trump person, right? He was on CNN in like 2015 shitting on Trump on a regular basis. But then when he decided to make the transition into being pro-Trump, he got big in right-wing circles online, right? Like he converted to Catholicism. And as you all know, the converts are always the craziest fucking ones. And look, his whole goal was to be big on the right, online. And in order to do that, you have to be like edgy. You know, you have to be in a subculture. You have to tell controversial jokes. You have to take extreme positions. And he did that. Now, little did he know that Trump was eventually going to pick him to be his VP. So now all the stuff he said when, he didn't think he would have that power, now it's all coming to light. And now he looks like the absolute freak that he is. Again, this is the sort of stuff that gets applause among the, right-wing subcultures online. But this is stuff that's just like nails on a chalkboard to every regular person in the country. So Kamala headquarters tweeted this, unearthed audio. J.D. Vance says teachers who do not have biological children disorient and really disturb him. Then he said about the head of the teachers union, she should have some of her own children. Oh my God. So here, let's listen to this one because the audio is cleaned up and you can see the, shout out to Blue Georgia for doing this. The audio is cleaned up and we have captions. Here we go.
And I think our conservative idea is that parents and families should determine what children learn, what values they are brought up with. So many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teaching union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
Look, we just got to call a spade here. He genuinely seems to despise anybody who doesn't have kids. And this is a talking point. He spreads it all the time. We saw Charlie Kirk debated with the Young Turks the other day at the DNC. They seem to genuinely believe if you don't have kids, you are not worthy as a person and you cannot make good policy decisions, and you shouldn't really have a say in the direction we go in the future because you don't have as much skin in the game, right? The ones with kids, they have skin in the game. You don't have skin in the game. I mean, this is so stupid for so many reasons. First of all, if you don't have kids, you still have policy preferences and things you want to fix right now, including for yourself. The idea that doesn't, or you also might have a niece or a nephew, or, you just believe in making the country better for the sake of making the country better. And by the way, as I always point out, dude, I can grab 50 people who are single who share J.D. Vance's right-wing politics, and I can grab 50 people in marriages with kids who agree with my politics, right? Now, if I present him those two, what would he say? He'd be like, oh, the ones who are single are actually more correct. Yeah. From your perspective, yeah. Because there is no weird ironclad law of nature that if you don't have kids, you're a fucking asshole and you hate everybody and everything and you want the country to fail or you don't care about the country. That is so immensely idiotic. I don't even have the words for it. Like, look, this is, it honestly, it reminds me of Mitt Romney's comment that derailed his campaign. Remember the 47% comment? He basically said, look, 47% of the country, you can write them off. They're moochers, they're parasites, they're never going to do the work, they're lazy. And, he was trying to set up this narrative where Republicans and conservatives are the good people who do all the work and make this country function. And the Democrats are just assholes who are leeching off of your success and are useless, right? That really hurt his campaign big time. Could argue it was one of the main factors as to why he lost. But here's J.D. Vance, and his 47% is just people who don't have kids. J.D., there's a lot of people who don't have kids. A lot of people. Let's call it what it is. It's a politics of hate. It's a politics of resentment. And, I can't help but also think that his conversion to Catholicism sort of leads to his thinking on this. And by the way, that also led to his very extreme abortion position. Remember, he said he wants a national abortion ban, and he also would like a law where right now, if you live in a red state and you try to travel to a blue state to get an abortion, he wants to ban you from being able to leave the state to get an abortion. He wants to criminalize that. This guy's an extremist, man. He's an extremist. So more and more of these comments are going to come out because he did the podcast circuit like crazy before he became the vice presidential pick. And in those weird right-wing niche subcultures, he was just letting it fucking rip, saying the dumbest shit you can imagine. And here's the main point, guys. This is the most anti-normie shit you can imagine. Like, nobody thinks this. No reasonable person thinks this. Nobody thinks less of people who they know who chose not to have kids or can't have kids. Nobody does that in real life. But it is what he does. It is what he does. So this is all going to catch up with him, bro. This is all going to catch up with him. And, you wonder, I retweeted it the other day. As the longer he's been in the race, he started off underwater, but then the longer he's been in the race, he just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. So the more people see of him, the more they don't like him. And look, to be fair, I don't know how much of it is specifically because of his policy positions, because his other problem is that his aura is immensely horrific. Everybody saw the video of him in the donut shop where he's the most awkward person you've ever seen. All the shit of him on the campaign trail. He gave a speech at some police event and there were like 4 people there. Like, he just gives off the vibe of this elitist asshole who you never want to hang out with. Right? He just doesn't have that comfortable in his own skin, authentic feel to him. So I don't know how much of him being underwater is that, or his policies, or what's more likely is a mix of both. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.